morning, everybody. Welcome to this Thursday edition of Coast to Coast. We got Pags in the stadium. How's it going, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. The Phillies took off today, so I get to come broadcast live from Wells Fargo Center. And as we can kind of see right here, I'll go ahead and you can turn it on right there. I have literally the entire arena to myself. I wish I could get this camera to focus a little bit better, but you're seeing the 2024 Philadelphia Wings right there getting their team photo completed.
Yep. So how are the Wings doing this year?
Right now, they believe they sit in sixth place. You know,
Okay.
I and they should be making the playoffs. Actually, they do so much better on the road than they do at home. It's kind of a weird phenomenon on what's happening there, but it's they have some winnable games coming up. If they win the next two, they'll definitely make the playoffs.
Nice.
And at that point, then anything could happen, especially because they play on the road to start.
Okay.
And like I said, the road is where they have been their best. Thank you so much. Um, see, I am like I'm like the guest of honor today.
Oh,
I
nice.
get like a cheesesteak and stuff. They
Oh
brought
yeah.
everything for me today, so
Must be good.
it is awesome. I get to, like I said, and I'm up in the press box today for the Philadelphia Wings. So this is definitely a lot of fun today.
Right on. Right on. So when is the game? I'm imagining they have a game tonight, or is this just for the photo shoot?
No, this they do have a game tonight. It's at 7 o'clock,
Okay.
and tonight actually on one of my videos, I should actually probably load it up here. Uh, we are having a cornhole tournament, and with that cornhole tournament, they have a monster trophy. This trophy is like if it was on the ground, it would come all the way up to my nipples.
All right.
So it's like, and it's my trophy. Nobody's gonna beat me. So I'm already saying that right now.
Well, yeah. You got. I mean, you got to go into it thinking you're going to win, if nothing else.
No doubt in my mind that we got it. This is ours. But
Good stuff.
listen, this is part of the fun. I was just live on TikTok,
Yep.
and so we may get a number of people coming on to my Facebook or my YouTube today that just came from TikTok. So it's it. Welcome to all the TikTokians that have followed me over from TikTok over to YouTube.
Absolutely. All right. And then, on that note, if we got some new viewers, we do have our hater show coming up Monday, only a few days away now. And we'll give you a full 3 minutes to air out whether you hate our teams, our show, us individually, doesn't matter. We'll let you get in there and sound off. I'll bring the popcorn. I'm ready for
Hey,
it.
hey, just kind of like yesterday, right? Like yesterday when we were doing the show, there was some tense moments that happened yesterday. Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday, Chad.
Chad. I love that. That's a great picture right there. Bam.
Yep, yep.
This is like all the entire everybody that works with the Wings organization now. This is the major photo that's
Very
happening.
cool.
So you think that it's just you know 24 people and a couple of marketing executives that run a franchise organization? That is not the case. There's lots of people that are involved. This is all of them right here.
Yeah, no, that's quite a few moving parts.
Yeah, even specifically for lacrosse, which you figure is not a monster sport,
Sure.
but they definitely have their, like I said, it was the marketing that brought me in today. And like I said, it was going to be in Phillies gear because I expected that we were going to have opening day today, and it's opening in a lot of other places, just not in Philly or New York.
Yep, yep.
But that's what we have tomorrow for.
Yeah, I mean, it should be a fun opening day game, though. I mean, I know you're
Uh-oh. I lost you there for a minute. Are you still there?
Should be a fun game. Opening day is always good. Yep. I'm here.
Yeah,
It's got a little bit of a connection issue.
yeah.
We also have some interesting weather going through. So, but yeah, no, I mean, opening day is always fun. So, definitely looking forward to baseball kicking off.
Yeah, so that we can prove as quickly as possible to Robert that his team stinks.
And here he is. Rob is in the house.
Hey, listen, I told them, and then 5 minutes later, they still didn't say goodbye. I was like, all right, I got to go. We had our darts championship last night.
Oh, cool.
We didn't
How'd
do
you
as
guys
well
do?
as, no,
Yeah.
no, we did not win. Unfortunately, we did not win. But such is life sometimes. There we go. That is the whole organization right there. They got the camera guys ready to take the picture. And then when you see the flash, that means they took the picture.
That is generally how it works. Yep.
Only the most important news here on Coast to Coast. But it's rare when you get to see, like I said, this is interesting to me that like I got the whole arena to myself.
That is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's part of the fun here. So I was thinking maybe in a little bit I could take this. I'll take the phone and we'll walk around a little bit, kind of show you some of the things that you could see here.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
So like to the left of me, they have the announcer's booth, and then they have all of the media stuff, like all the things, all the workings of all the cameras and such like that in that booth. So where they have all the screens and such. Then they have a really big suite section over here. So it starts on this side here. Once you get past the press boxes, you have the Flyers suite that is over there afterwards. See, there's the flash. See, you took the picture. And then you have the Rivers Casino area where you could do where they have a whole bunch of different TVs so you could watch all your different games other than the Flyers game or the Wings game. And then they have different suites. They have Revolution Row, which is the standing room only section up top here. And then they have other types of suites that go off towards the end. I tell you when, I mean, this is why you turn into Coast to Coast. I lost some connection here. I don't know why. It says I'm still on. I don't know.
Good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, this is only the best.
Just right. Learn something new every day. Just not here on this show. That's
we'll see if the camera comes back on. Not that it's the biggest deal. If you don't.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the important part, right?
Yeah, they're finally settled because they took all those pictures so far, and yeah. So, anyways, so it's a big game tonight. It's a big name tonight for the Wings. Here, I'm going to turn this off so we don't need this anymore. Poof. There we go. So, and because this has been going on today, I'm not even sure what's happening in the world of sports.
Well, so I got a clip for you here that. So Rob Parker always says dumb stuff, right? Like that's more or less what he builds his career on. And here's some more of it.
Awesome.
Convinced that Caitlin Clark should play for an NBA team, Chris, not a WNBA team, And I want to say this before you poo-poo me or before you tell me I'm a sugar nut, I'm crazy.
You beyond my sugar.
Okay?
She ain't good enough. It's as
Hold
simple as
on.
that. She ain't good enough.
Hold on. Let me say this.
Period.
This ain't no stunt like Eddie Goodell.
It must be, because you should know. You've covered the NBA. She
let me
good
hear
enough
me
to
out.
play in the NBA?
Yes, she is. And I'm going to tell you why.
Embarrassing.
This is not Eddie Goodell with the White Sox, Christian. Remember they had the small person who gave up the bat and they tried to get him to walk every at bat. This is not that.
Of course
This is not a sideshow. This is not the bearded lady at the circus. This is not what it could be. The NBA right now is so soft as far as physical play. They allow almost anyone to just take three-point shots. And I believe, I really do, that she could put up threes in this man's NBA. This is not 2004. This is not the 90s, Chris. This is an NBA where the three ball is open. It's open to be had. And if you have players and you set her up somewhere,
why isn't Jimmer Fredette in the NBA?
Because he can't play. He's not the all-time.
He's better
leading
than
scorer.
Caitlin Clark.
He's not the all-time leading scorer. We just saw Steph Curry go up against a female in a three-point shooting contest, right?
It's not about skills.
Chris,
it's about athleticism. It's about size. It's about strength. This is embarrassing for you.
No, it ain't.
So, I mean, in a way, I mean, first off, she wouldn't be able to. She wouldn't be able to hang just because the guys are bigger, more physical, whatever, right? But it is the softest version of the NBA. So, I mean, do I think she would score some points? Probably.
So, I mean, you were tuned in. I don't know if you tuned in when I asked this question. I know Robert was there.
Yeah.
And I asked it, is she worth a second round pick? And the panelists were talking about something different, and they really poo-pooed the question.
Well, I mean, where they really seemed to make a transition was they were, which we're going to touch on a little bit, is the viewership, type of thing. But yeah, I didn't hear that part of the show.
Well, they like I said, it was not something that was a big deal to me in that regards. I was just like, okay, is this is what it is, end of story. It's okay. And ultimately, I believe she is worth a number 2 pick. I mean, if there's ever going to be somebody who is going to be, and listen, there are tons of players that ride the bench in the 10th, 11th, and 12th spot that average less than 2 minutes a game for a season, earning money. My thought is that she is better than that. No, I think that are we going to have her muscle up against guys? The first time that she goes in for a rebound and she gets not bowled over by a guy.
Yeah.
Well, last time I checked, if you get, I've watched some of these small guys get bowled over and they get fouls called on them.
Yeah.
These people. So where would be the any difference? I don't believe that there's any difference here. I understand that this is a men's league and that a moment that a woman gets in there, now all of a sudden life is going to change. If there ever was a woman to get in there, I think this is her.
I mean, she can shoot. So, I mean, I could see her as a perimeter catch and shoot type of position. I could see that. Absolutely. It would be the defensive side of the ball that really becomes into question. Not that anybody plays defense anymore anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it would be interesting to see how the actual players do it, right? Does she end up with a lot of flagrant fouls because they're just not about it? Like, that'd be the real thing to watch.
Yes, I agree with that. And ultimately, I mean, listen, how many times would that need to occur before before it really costs your team. You get a flagrant foul, all of a sudden you get, 2 foul shots now and the possession back.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it works in her favor to get the flagrants.
Sure.
It would help your team.
Well,
And
and it definitely could because they're technical fouls, right? So I mean, you get 2 of those, you're booted from the game.
correct. So I firmly believe that I think that it'd be worth it to invest a second round pick. Listen, these second round picks don't go anywhere.
No, they
you
don't. I
never.
mean, honestly, outside of the top 10 picks, most of the players don't work in the NBA anyway. I mean, it's not like the NFL where your 7th rounder, they can still make an impact. Really, as soon as you're towards the end of the first round, NBA players are washing out, right, out of that
Right.
draft. Because it's not like they have the flexibility that, say, baseball does, where they send them down to AAA or whatever. It's like you either work or you're out of the building. So most of the NBA draft is, I mean, I guess if you wanted to see the important parts, but you didn't want to invest a lot of time, the NBA draft is the draft to watch, right? Because you only have to watch the first 10 picks, and then you can pretty much move on with your day.
except for the COVID draft. The COVID draft created a whole different scenario where everybody got somebody halfway decent. There isn't many jokers out there that you could pick in the second round and all of a sudden they're winning MVPs.
Typically,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what you're getting. That's why guys can come right out of high school most of the time.
Yeah.
That's they see what it is. So I don't know. I look at it a lot differently. I think that she could be on a roster. She could play with the men. She's going to be playing a guard, so she's going to, and the other thing is that she actually plays defense.
Yes.
That's where I think guys would get angry because
Exactly.
you're going to get beat on defense. Her defense will start to wear on you and frustrate guys.
And that's what I was saying, right? Like the defensive side of the ball will be where I think you see unfavorable things happen, right? Like I think there will be frustrations, not just because she plays defense that the league kind of doesn't do. She's undersized, so people, compared to NBA guys, right? So they'll be able to kind of bully on her a little bit. So it'll be when the frustrations flare, how does that translate? And, I'm going to go with there would be a lot of flagrant fouls.
No, and I hear that. But I think about, I immediately think of Spud Webb.
Sure.
You know what I mean? He was very undersized.
That's, no doubt.
She was bigger than him. She is bigger than Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not comparing her to Allen Iverson.
No,
but I believe that you can give her the opportunity and that it wouldn't hurt your franchise. Actually, I think it would only help your franchise in a number of different ways.
Yep.
Think of all the women that would buy that jersey.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, it'd be the probably the top selling jersey in the NBA.
I would agree. I mean, because I
don't think it'd be close.
So I think
one of the topics you guys touched on last night is, I did want to touch on it as well because you guys were talking about viewership numbers and the women's, March Madness is outpacing viewership wise the men's, right? And some of that obviously is the one and done aspect of the men's side. Right, like so many of those guys, you don't get to follow a player through college anymore on the men's side like you used to,
right.
And so you do on the women's side. And I think moving forward, because I don't see that going away on the men's side of the bracket, right? So when you're looking at the women's, I think this could actually help WNBA numbers by having the situation where you are following players again. It's one of the things that like UFC has kind of gotten away from, where it used to be. You used to know who all the fighters were. It was easy to follow, whatever. And then it's kind of changed a little bit. So like in this case, it's kind of changed from the men's side to the women's side. And I think that could actually help the WNBA viewership when these ladies start to transition into the WNBA.
See, the hardest part about the WNBA to me is, one, there's not one in Philadelphia. So I don't have the ability to see a WNBA game because it's rare that I'm in a city that has a women's team that happens to be playing that night that I'm there. So I don't go to women's games. That's just the honest to God truth of it. Out of all the women's sports, the WNBA is probably the closest to being something that's actually legitimate. I don't think that, I don't know of any other women's sports that gets as much publicity other than like women's soccer, but that's the national team. You know what I mean? And exactly. That's, so they're so few and far between. And the truth of the matter is that when the women's national team went up against the 14 and under boys, they got shellacked. Yeah. And when they went and they played, when the women's national team went and played Wrexham, they got shellacked, even worse. The boys team took it easy on them and only beat them like 6-0. Yeah. That team was like 12-0. Yeah. And you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. You needed to beat them that badly because ultimately anything less than that shows, oh, you guys are soft. You win that game 3-2 or 1-0 or 2-0 or something like that, you're getting looked at funny. Yeah. It's like, oh, your team must really stink to go up against the women. You beat them 12-0. Oh, you guys were bullies.
Yeah. No, there's no right answer there. I mean, so unless the effort that the women's team was putting up was just next level, yeah, it's going to be looked at, in a weird way for sure.
Yeah, so it's just tough to really, when I think about that and I think about, okay, you had that one guy talk about, hey, you know what? We want to put the WNBA champion or all-star team against a high school championship team. Mm-hmm. That the high school championship boys team would win. Do you have a doubt? I don't have a doubt about that.
No, not really. Yeah.
I think he's right. I think the women know it too is the problem. So they could talk all they would like to, but they're not going to get, when it comes down to game time, they're going to lose. That's why I don't feel that women can compete against men on a full scale. However,
no, I agree with that.
You put the right woman on a team with men, and the men are going to protect her too. Like, so there's going to be some of that's going on there. Like now, all of a sudden, I feel that they, when you put her on the right team, that team will do better.
Sure.
Especially since she is very good at what she does.
Yes.
And that's
she's
why.
Supreme talent. There's no doubt. Like, she's incredibly talented. She's a great shooter. There's no doubt in my mind that she could make a team better. I think it's the outside of the game stuff that, could potentially create the issue, or things that shouldn't be in the game. So.
Well, I think it's the locker room is the problem.
Yeah.
The locker room goes the problem. And here's where I think the bigger problem lies. It has nothing to do with the other team. It has to do with your own team and any type of possible romantic relationship happening in team.
Sure.
That's the scarier parts of the conversation there. Because listen, when you guys are teammates, all of a sudden there's a different bond that grows.
Yeah.
And so you're in team meetings, you're doing those types of things, and all of a sudden there's something that kind of grows. It happens in the workplace all the time. Now, will it happen here? I can't say that one way or another, but that's the scarier part of the two. Because then, like, do you trade that guy away? It's because that's you don't typically worry about men, you know, having that type of relationship on a team.
Sure.
I can't say that it's never happened either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm sure that it has happened before. There's been a lot of people in the NBA to think that nobody has ever had feelings in that regard for another one of their teammates, and they acted upon it. Is
Yeah.
ridiculous. Is ridiculous. I believe that
Absolutely.
that has absolutely occurred. But this is a whole different scenario now. And ultimately that's the hard part. Like, how do you hide that?
Yeah, no, that'd be tough. I mean, obviously it could happen. They'd be around each other all the time, every day. Like, so I mean, it'd be crazy to think that it couldn't happen.
Right. And see, that wouldn't be such a bad idea as you're seeing there, Paul. Actually having a combined all-star game.
That'd be fun. I'd watch that.
A mixed all-star. You know what I mean?
It'd be better than that trash we watched,
Yeah. Over 400 points. Get the
Yeah.
frig out of here. Like,
absolutely.
no, that's Robert. See, Robert, are you even paying attention to what I'm saying? You know what I mean? It's like, Robert, you were on the down low, I think.
Oh man, there is something kind of cool that is coming up. Is there are a bunch of women's sports bars popping up, right? That all they show is women's sports. So there's let's see, 3 of them that come up offhand is a bar of their own in Minneapolis, the Sports Bra in Oregon, and Rough and Tumble here in Seattle. And they all focus specifically on women's sports. So, which is kind of cool. Because I'll be honest, when you go to a sports bar, it's actually hard to find women's sports on TV. And some of it is a marketing issue. Like, you don't usually hear about the WNBA all that much until it's their playoff time. Like, we have a team in town. They've won multiple titles. Most of the time I don't hear about them until they are halfway through the season, which is crazy.
Right.
Like, how are you supposed to fill a stadium and get, viewer ratings and stuff if the marketing is so bad that in your own city you don't necessarily always know when it starts?
Well, so interesting. I'm down in Miami and I'm at a bar, just a normal bar.
Sure.
On the strip, kind of. And I'm watching it. And on one television, we're watching some women's sport. And I'm not exactly sure what it was. On the other one, we're watching women's hockey.
Okay.
There are women sports stations now that only play women's sports. And it was interesting to me because I'm like, oh, those are girls. Oh, those are girls. And that's all this bar played, was just women's sports. Not that it was a big deal. Not that I even cared. You know what I mean? Yep. I'm here having a drink and I'm watching women's sports. If it wasn't for a lot of the ponytails coming out of the helmets, I would have had no idea. Yeah, it looks like college sports. You know what I mean? It's college hockey or whatever. So the fact that they have these stations and you're saying now there's actual bars that come and specifically cater to total women's sports atmosphere. The hardest part about that is, how do those bars cater to men at all. Because listen, you can't take away half of your possible base right off the gate.
Sure.
The fact that you deal with women's sports is great. That's amazing. I'm all for that. But how do you like just
Well, I mean,
do you not have guys show up, or if the guys show up that they are feminists? You know what I mean? Like it's like you want to make sure that you still cater to men to a certain extent
I
to
mean,
invite them in. Like you still need the specials and all.
I feel like even if you were in a way excluding men in that scenario, I don't think they are. Based on the locations of these, I don't think that would really be the issue. Because like the one here in Seattle is right in Ballard. So you'd get a good cross section of people in there anyway. But I think even if, say hypothetically for this argument, you did exclude it, there's so few of them that I think you'd still be busy, even if your entire clientele was women. Now, I don't think that would be the case, but even if it was, I think you'd still stay busy in the heart of a city and being the only one that really does that, right? Because if you go into, say, a Wild Wings, you don't see a lot of women's sports on the TVs. Like,
right.
You'll see, I mean, there's 50 TVs in that room. There might be one of the screens that has women's sports on, right? So, like if you wanted to see some of those things now, obviously right now, because of March Madness, obviously that wouldn't be the case, right? They're going to be playing the, at this point, the Sweet 16 coming up. They're absolutely playing that, obviously. Every sports bar is going to be playing those games.
Right.
So, but when you're talking the rest of the rest of the year, that's where, most sports bars kind of fall off of that. And so, cool that there's a spot. If you go into a sports bar and it's not busy and you ask for something on the TV, most of them would switch it over for you if they have it. So it's not like these bar owners are jerks. They're just, catering to who it is who's normally in the room. So I'm not trying to say that other bars are just a bunch of douchebags. Obviously, I'm not saying that.
Right. And mom, I support women's sports. It's not a matter of whether men support women's sports or don't support women's sports. What I'm talking about is when you have a model that, that off the top just immediately limits half of the possible customer base. You want to make sure that you support that other half because you want men in there. You want men to come into this. This is just because you're a women's sports bar doesn't mean that you want to exclude the men. And you want to make sure your clientele also don't exclude the men. That's a big, big deal. So monstrously big deal.
That is definitely a big thing. That is, I mean, honestly, I'm gonna check this bar. I haven't been there yet. I saw it last time I was in Ballard. I was thinking that when the WNBA kicks off, which I think is next month, right? I believe
it might be. You would know better than me because I don't have an WNBA team.
Yeah, I think it starts next month. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it does. I'm gonna try and do a game from there, just because I'm curious what the atmosphere is like, and I think it'd be fun. Plus, at the end of the day, it's sports bars, so don't threaten me with a good time.
No, exactly. Hey, listen, and see, there's a few things that immediately make me think. Again, this is the hard part where they say this. So I'm saying this a little bit because I am ignorant to the idea to a certain extent. Do you cater to single guys? Do you try to push that narrative a little bit? The harder part about that is that, you don't want to make it about sex.
No, exactly.
But it's a bar.
It is a bar.
You know what I mean? And what happens in bars? People get together all the time. Like that's part of the thing. So there's a part
there's
of
still
that.
alcohol. Bad decisions will happen.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, how do you do that? And truth of the matter, and this is 100% honest. You want women's sports to grow. The only way I know how to do that, the best way I know how to do that, have the casinos offer specials on the lines.
Yeah.
That will make women's sports grow exponentially.
Sure.
That's what's necessary. You want to do that, put the gambling into it and make the gambling worth it. Hey, we're going to offer you, special odds.
Yeah.
You get special odds. You
offer bumps on the lines. Absolutely.
Oh, you may have to just do it. No juice. No juice on any women's sports bet gambling.
Yeah.
Now, casinos won't do that. You know what I mean?
No, they want their money.
Or maybe a reduced juice. 1% juice instead of 10% juice.
Yeah.
All women's sports. I mean, even that 9% makes a monster difference when you're thinking about things. So, I mean, it's like, so now they're still making their little bit of money.
Well, and plus, I mean, once you get people into that routine, like, hey, we're going to start betting these, then all of a sudden you start hitting your juice back in line. There we go. Got the horn. I like it.
They're testing the goal horn and the end of the quarter horn.
Yeah, sound check. Let's get it.
Exactly. It's so awesome having like the whole arena to myself, like literally to myself.
It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
I mean, it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's like I mean, there's some people working, so obviously I'm not going to yell anything here like WYNGS wings. Like that would be kind of cool to do, but there's nobody here to yell it with me. So,
yeah, I mean, especially some of these online sports books, they could definitely do some of these things. So, I mean, there's definitely ways that they could increase the eyes that are hitting these sports. There's no doubt.
Right. And that's kind of how I look at things. We're gonna be going off here in just a second again in another 20 seconds. You'll hear the horn.
Nice.
So again, that's where I think the gambling aspect will institute more interest in women's sports. Not that the WNBA, I mean, I'm sure you could gamble on WNBA right now.
I'm sure there's lines on it. Yeah, I have no doubt.
So
I mean, I'd be really surprised if they didn't, but they don't hype them up. Like you don't hear about them.
Right. And from what I understand, especially when it comes to the NCAA, the women's NCAA, that the top seeds win. It's rare that there's upsets. So the problem is that you're never getting money line bets. Or if you are betting money line, you have to bet so ridiculously egregious to make any money, because the number 1 seed there is never going to lose to the 8 seed. And I'm assuming that I'm assuming they only have 32 teams. I might be off. It might be 48 teams. I don't follow the women's. If there is 64 teams, that's awesome. But I mean, that just tells me, because what I heard yesterday was that out of the first round of games, only one higher seeded team won a game. Only one. Like that's so that tells me, well, I should have definitely bet every favorite in the women's brackets on the money line.
Yeah.
Because who cares if it's close?
Yeah, I mean, if there was only one upset, then yeah. I mean, that's crazy.
So, and then I followed it now going the opposite way with the men's bracket. I followed this guy who is gambling. He's literally he says 1,000, and I'm sure this is just a test, but he did $1,000 for every underdog money line in the tournament. Right now, as it stands right this moment, I think he's up $7,600.
Okay.
So and that's hey, listen, so the favorites, when you're betting the underdog on when you're betting the underdog on a number 16 seed, that underdog is typically not going to win. You know what I mean? No, so you're not really concerned there.
Although if it does, it's going to pay out pretty well.
Like Yale was a plus 5,500. So $1,000 bet wins you $5,500.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, and that takes away 5 bets.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's 5 bets on that. So it's like there's so many underdogs, especially in the round of 64,
hmm
that win those games. Because and how many, and then here's the other question: how many of those first 32 games are you the upper seed with a lower with as an underdog? I got to imagine that happens on occasion too, especially with the 8-9s, 7-10s.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, you're not going to see a 13 seed be the favorite against a 4 seed, but
Not unless there's some wicked injuries.
yeah, unless you're Florida State going up in a national championship type thing.
Exactly.
But I mean, so I mean, there's that thought process, but it doesn't happen that way in the women's.
Yep.
The women's, you don't start to see upsets until you're into the Elite 8.
Yeah. But
And
I mean,
that's
once you're to that spot, like all the teams are good.
right.
That is one of the things that isn't great about the tournament in general, right? Men's or women's, doesn't matter. Is the amount of schools that are in there. Like some of those schools get bids that you're looking at, and I mean, they're getting smoked as soon as it happens, right? You're like, okay, you made it in, but you're a one and done. Like you don't even need to pull your stuff off the bus. Like you're going to step in that arena, get smoked, get right back on the bus. So
yeah, Griffin State going up against Houston. You know what I mean? I don't even know who Houston played, but it's like doesn't matter.
Exactly.
You are Sister Mary of the Blind, who got lucky and won their conference, won their conference championship. Yeah, like the team that's like 11-23, but their star player was hurt for most of the season. Their star player came back, and all of a sudden he's doing really well, and does that. And, he wins the tournament for them directly. And I've seen that happen. That's definitely happened a few times. I've seen teams with losing records be in the tournament as a 16 seed going up against as a 64th seed going up against a number 1 seed. That's what happens there.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
But
so Jay is still healing up. Still a lot of pain, which is why we haven't seen him on the show. But there's no infection or anything, so he is doing well. Just not ready to be back on the air. I don't know. Maybe his first day back will be the Hater Show.
let's hope. Let's hope.
That'd be the way to kick off coming back on.
I hate everything.
So for this here, I would need a little bit of a research and a team to help me keep up to date with everything and still be on air as much as I am. So it would be fun, but as a one-man production crew here, I do not have the bandwidth to do all of that.
Mom, that sounds like a perfect spot for you to start your podcasting career.
Right. And absolutely. I do still chat with him every couple days. So, all right, let's see.
Yeah, so
sticking with basketball, it looks like refs are really not into Draymond's crap at all anymore. He gets booted 4 minutes into a game yesterday. He sure looks like he's gonna be out of the league soon.
Well, it was. What did he do?
Nothing. That's the thing is he committed a foul, but he can't keep his mouth shut. So he sits there running his mouth, gets a technical, then continues to run it, gets the second technical. You're 4 minutes into the game. Like that hurts your team. Like that is at some point you got to shut it down. You got to understand, hey, I am not helpful to my team if I'm not in the building anymore.
Maybe he had a date. Who knows?
Suppose there's that. Yeah, I don't know. Some of those things are some of his antics don't make sense. Obviously, the sending him to whatever what therapy, right? Didn't really do anything. Watched him clothesline somebody a couple days ago. So I mean, he based on where he's at in his career, I think the negative aspect is starting to outshine what he can help with on the court.
I can believe that. But I mean, listen, we've been talking about it in more ways than one about how the refs have been ridiculously soft and ridiculously bad.
Yeah.
I mean, there was 3 or 4 calls at the end of the game yesterday with the Sixers and the Clippers that were just weird. They were just weird to not get calls on. Like no calls whatsoever. Are you kidding me? Like really? Like this is what we're doing here? Like this is how we're making this occur?
Yeah.
It just seemed so ridiculous. And like, all right, here you go. Maxey slips, and I think he got a foul called on him because he slipped. Okay, so that happens on occasion. But
Sure.
then the next guy goes down, and going up for a layup to possibly win the game, and they says, well, the foul occurred after the horn. We're not going to review it though. What?
That's curious.
What? I know Nick Nurse was like furious.
Sure.
Not that, and listen, they should have won that game anyways. The Sixers should have won that game, and they didn't. But it's just, and then Harden saying, "Oh, I don't know why Philly's even booing me."
Yeah, I mean, Harden's another interesting dude. That's the most diplomatic way to say it. Interesting dude.
Yeah, go hang out in your strip clubs there, Harden. Let's do your thing. Let's just keep it at that.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah, never a dull moment. It is never a dull moment whatsoever. Anyways, what was I going to say? I was looking at some of these.
So the Timberwolves and the Lynx are no longer for sale. So they are going to be.
I saw that.
They're going to be retained, and I think this is probably just a testament to A-Rod being a douche, because it sounds like they did ultimately get the $1.5 billion that they were required to become majority owners, and it said through the process the relationship soured, and then they missed their deadline of Wednesday, and basically on that technicality, the current owner is just like, you know what? It didn't work out. You missed the deadline. So, like, how big of a jerk do you got to be for someone to be like, you know what? I know you have the money. You missed it by a day. I don't want your $1.5 billion. Like, how bad does the relationship have to get where you're like, you know what? $1.5 billion, I'm just not that into it. Like, like you gotta really not be about the people trying to buy in.
Well, and I don't know anything about lore. I don't know who that guy is. You know what I mean? Obviously, he's probably the real money. Like A-Red's got money, but has he got billions of dollars? I mean, maybe,
So,
I guess.
It didn't sound like either one of them had it, because they were going to be paying in installments. So it sounded like it wasn't neither. It didn't sound like either one of them had the pockets to just be like, here we go. So it sounded like it was a payment process to get there. So they were, I'm sure, getting other investors to help them out. But I mean, if the relationship gets to a spot where, like, if it was you or me and we're just like, yeah, I don't want your $1.5 billion, like, that relationship has to be toxic.
I would agree with that. Hey, listen, A-Rod's never going to win awards for humanitarian of the year.
Not at all. Not at all.
So we know where that is.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was kind of putting the emphasis on him, because I don't know lore. I haven't, I don't know anything about him, but we do know quite a bit about A-Rod.
Right. And I don't know. I mean, what's he doing up in Minnesota anyways? Like, it was just an investment. Like, oh, I'm gonna buy the Timberwolves and the Lynx.
Yeah, I'm sure it was just an investment opportunity, right? Which, I mean, that part makes sense.
Yeah, it would make sense if he bought it in Seattle. If he was part of the ownership group in Seattle and said, "Hey, listen, I'd like to try to mend ways with the Seattle people and bringing them back a basketball team."
Yeah, okay. I guess I could kind of buy that.
All right, so or hey, I'm going down to Dallas and I want to buy in the Mavericks because hey, the Mavericks just sold for a few $1 billion, and it's like, hey, again, they were the first ones to give me a big contract. I want to come down here and support this, or even in New York, same situation. Blah blah blah. Minnesota? He's not from Minnesota. He's not related to Prince. You know what I mean?
Maybe it's just I haven't pissed this market off yet. Maybe that's what it is.
I'm sure we could find many ways that he pissed that market off.
He was probably going to buy it and then try and move them.
Yeah, like, hey, listen, I want to take this team to, who knows, Nashville.
Yep.
I want to be honky tonk. Never a dull moment.
That is for sure.
Or try to move him to Vegas. That would be the ridiculous move for them to really try to do.
I could see him doing something like that. I could see him trying to take it to Vegas. The other one that gets to keep their team is the Capitals and Wizards are officially going to stay in DC. Stadium deal fell apart in Virginia, and DC agrees to a $515 million publicly funded deal. And it's that'll keep the two teams there through 2050, adding 200,000 square feet to the complex. So their complex is going to be pretty cool. I haven't seen any mock-ups of it yet, but
where it's at now.
Where it's at now. So they're going to move in. They're going to create an entertainment district that's going to move into the Chinatown area, and then they're increasing, the infrastructure around it as far as travel. So, yeah, I don't know. The facility should be interesting. I feel like that's going to make a lot of people mad if they enjoy the Chinatown area, because that sounds like that's going to mostly displace that.
Well, and that's the same problem that the Sixers have, trying to move into Chinatown and having a big. The problem I had with Washington, I went down to go see a Capitals game, and I went down via Amtrak.
Sure.
Got a round trip ticket. Well, the problem is the last train from Amtrak leaves at 9:30. Well, the game wasn't over. It's like I'm like, so I have to leave the game to go catch the train, or else I'm stuck in DC for a night. And I ain't really interested in being stuck in DC for a night, especially as the Philly sports guy.
Right. Yeah, because I imagine you were painted up for that, yeah?
I was.
Yep.
And they did not really care for me down there very nicely.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I'm a loud guy as well. They're like, man. The one guy was. I thought he was going to come try to beat me up. I really did. This big guy's like, shut the F up. And I'm like, no.
I would imagine you encounter that from time to time.
Rarely. Most of the time people are, they get it. Hockey fans are a little different. Hockey fans are sometimes askew. Like, I was talking today that, it looks like right now that the Flyers, if everything goes the way it's going as we speak, that it looks like the Flyers are going to wind up in the 8th seed, not the 3rd seed in the in the division because it looks like Washington's going to start to take us.
Oh,
So
okay.
if Washington overtakes us, that moves us to the number 8 spot, and we're going to wind up going up against the Rangers.
Okay.
And I was talking to somebody in the Flyers organization. I'm like, listen, she's talking about getting tickets. I'm like, listen, get me a ticket. I'll pay the ticket. Go up with you guys. I don't care what it is. Just get me a ticket. I've never been to Madison Square Garden.
Oh, okay.
Ever. Like I live in Philly and I've never been to Madison Square Garden. It's a little ridiculous.
I mean, you got to go to the Garden at some point, right?
Exactly. So, and I said I would absolutely love to go for a Flyers game because I hate the Rangers. But New York fans get me. They understand.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I don't really run into that many issues or problems. However, they've never seen me in that stadium.
Oh, yeah.
And that could bring a different set of challenges.
Yeah.
Like when I went down to Washington, I went down there by myself. I don't care. Like nobody wants to come with me. That's fine. I'm going down and going to just sit in this seat right here and enjoy myself. Because I get down low and I like to yell at the goalies and do my thing and stuff like that. Doing it in New York, whole different scenario. Because although they understand and they get me, they ain't going to be happy if I'm getting to their goalie.
True. Especially if it's noticeable that you're getting to them. Like if you can get them to turn around, tell you to shut up or something, like be good.
Now that happens all the time.
Sure.
Oh, I get that all the time. I mean, my favorite time that occurred was in Minnesota. When in Minnesota, I had 4 sections of people singing "na na na na, hey hey hey, goodbye" to me.
Awesome.
And that was all. It was. And then they all come down and take pictures. They just turned on the big screen. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. And literally they were. But I have for football games, it's a whole different scenario. Like I'm cheering on the Eagles nonstop, and we got our asses stomped that game.
Yeah,
it was the first time we were back up in Minnesota after we just won the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay.
So they were not. Minnesota people hate Philadelphians because we were so big and bad against them. And hey, listen, when you come in, don't come into our area and start messing with the Rocky statue and stuff like that. Don't think you're going to just come in here and start putting your feet on the furniture and we're going to be like, okay, yeah, you're okay. No, we're going to smack your feet off the furniture and yell at you a lot to do, while we're doing it.
Sure.
Well, they don't care for that. It's like, oh, we should be able to do whatever we want to do. Well, no, you shouldn't. Anyways, neither here nor there. I go up there and I'm trying to be the goodwill ambassador. I'm like, yeah, we're just fun people, They want to do their Skol chants, and I'm like, no, we don't do Skol chants on my podcast. Let's go Birds. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's fun. It's meant to be fun banter. They actually put me on the news up there because of what I was doing, because they liked it so much. They're like, this is kind of cool that this guy comes out in here and does this. This is doing interviews with Vikings fans and doing that type of stuff. And it was fun. It was a good time. I got it so bad. I walked back from the stadium to the hotel. When I walked into the bar of the hotel, I got a standing ovation.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because they saw how bad I got it. Like it was like on the broadcast. Like these guys were killing me the entire game because we were pooping the bed. We were pooping the bed that game.
That's the thing is when you're really going at it for your team and you get smacked. I mean, you got to be ready. That's the bring it.
Exactly. Hey, listen, I am, I've got thick skin. You know what I mean? It's like if I can give it, I can take it and accept it and still smile and take a picture with you afterwards.
Yep.
Like that's part of the gig. That's why I do it. That's why I love it. Yeah, that's part of the banter. I want the banter back and forth. When I have 4 sections of people singing to me to get out of their stadium, I did my job. I was an integral part of that game for them. You know what I mean? And that's part of what it is. People ask me all the time, well, don't you get angry if people curse at you? Mm-mm. The moment they curse at me, I've won. Because now they're paying attention to me. They're not paying attention to the game anymore.
Yeah.
And I hear it all the time. It's when, like, Dolphins fans are, most of them, half of them are good. But there's Dolphins fans that they are like sneaky, like they're throwing stuff and then like being all types of weird. I remember one guy, I sit in the front row, of course.
Yeah.
Guy threw something at me and it missed me and hit a police officer down on the field.
Oh.
When he looked at me like I threw it, I'm like, I ain't throwing nothing. It's the guys back here. He goes, well, you have to sit down and watch the game. I'm like, I don't have to do anything. I own this seat right now. I paid a lot of money for this seat. If I want to sit up and watch this game and stand up and do this, I could do this. Well, you're being ignorant to the people behind you. I'm like, I'm not being ignorant to anybody behind me because I'm very respectful all the time. But I'm not going to have people throw stuff at me just because it's okay. They think it's okay.
Yeah.
And if I go up there and I whip that guy's ass, I'm going to be the one that gets kicked out of the stadium.
No doubt.
Yeah. Well, that guy's being like, throwing ice cubes and shit at me. Get the hell out of here. It's not that, but that's what Dolphins fans do sometimes, because Dolphins fans are pussies. Bring that to the hater show there, Miami.
Yes, that's right. The entire city. Let's go. I mean, it doesn't just have to be a fan base though. Could be an owner, right? Like could have been Tepper.
Hey, listen. We think about all the stuff that happened with the Tom Brady thing and think about all the things that occurred that required a police raid in an area for when an owner of a football team is getting a massage. Think about all the things that went into place for that.
Yeah.
I tell you, I have it. I still have it written down somewhere. I went through the entire list. I'm like, this is high level bullshit between owners. That's what that was. That was the Miami owner trying to embarrass Kraft, Kraft. And Kraft got him back. It went back and forth. It was high level bullshit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, when you're doing that, when you're doing that swinging contest between billionaires, like they have a lot of resources to really escalate that thing.
Yeah, and it don't matter how small it is, it's still going over your shoulder.
That's right. That's awesome. Well, we're at the top of the hour. Might as well do our station break here. See y'all in a few minutes.
This is Reggie Jones, owner and founder of Air Sports Academy. Air is based on the 4 core principles: heart, education, integrity, resiliency. Air is about developing student athletes physically and mentally through training, mentorship, and effective marketing. We've created a platform and a blueprint for our state to shine in the brightest of lights. I created this program because it was a need for our state. We needed to have the light shine on the student athletes in our region. And now that is happening at an all-time and undeniable rate. We created a lane for the kids in our state to get their college education paid for and set their families up for future success. We created an environment where serious athletes can now come compete fearlessly. We've achieved this through our variety of elite programs. Our 6-month off-season program, where first-year starters or seasoned vets can all come develop. Our 5-on-5 program, which is all about our line. Our youth tackle program, which is the first and only youth tackle team from the state of Washington to ever win a major national championship. Our 7-on-7 program, which is ranked top 10 in the country every year. Our high school 11-on-11 club tackle program, which creates a unique and much-needed opportunity for our kids. Our college prep program, which allows our graduates to come back from college and prepare for the upcoming season. Our track and field program, which creates an opportunity for our young air boys and air girls to continue to get faster. When you're a national program, you receive national respect, which is why when you look at recruiting boards and top player lists from around the country, you'll always find players from Air on those lists. which is why college coaches from some of the most prestigious schools around the country come into our facility to recruit our players. The Penn State, Alabama, Oregon, Stanford, Florida State, the list goes on. Our players are being recruited, offered, and committing to some of the top schools in the nation. The experience our players and families receive is second to none. We offer a competitive brand of sports at Air. We are the ball. And with that comes great responsibility. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. This is Air.
All right. So how's the how's the Philly? They got a good one at the stadium?
It's a chicken cheesesteak. It's made by Delco Steaks, which is excellent.
All right.
As I continue to chew, I figured I wanted to do it while I was doing it. I ate actually pretty half of it. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, let me take smaller bites just in case this commercial ends.
Yep. Nope. It's I always appreciate the commercial break for a second because I can either go grab some more water or use the bathroom, get some food, whatever. Like it is a helpful part of the show.
Exactly. So, I mean, Chris kind of mentioned something there, although he didn't send me the link on that. So while he's sending me that link, there were a couple of things that I saw yesterday that I wanted to actually talk about, that I talk about afterwards. But there was MLB The Show did their actual games. And here's what they came up with. So, Rob, if you're here, this is what the video games said. Not me, but
So
this is a precursor.
So this was automated?
This was an automated season.
Okay.
Using everything that's...
all the current players, automated season.
Correct.
Got it.
The AL East. This is the AL East.
Okay.
The Orioles win the East with an 89-73 record.
Okay. Nothing
Yankees
crazy.
are in second with an 84-78 record. The Rays third, 82-80. Blue Jays 81-81, and the Red Sox 76-86. So the Central has the Twins winning the division 95-67.
Wow.
It's a big one there.
That is.
They beat everybody in the East, so which is surprising.
Okay.
The Guardians are 81-81. Royals, Tigers, and White Sox. White Sox do not win 60 games. I'm only going to mention that because of that. It's like they got the White Sox at 50 and 112.
Oof.
That's an oucher.
That is rough.
Actually, they set a franchise record with 112 losses.
Wow. Well, if you're a Sox fan, you can't love this list.
So, AL West. Robert, are you paying attention? The Astros win the division 106 with 106 wins.
Okay.
Rangers are in second with 92 wins. Okay. The Mariners are in third place with 78 wins.
That seems about right.
The Angels have 72 wins, and the Athletics have 64 wins. So the Athletics are not the worst team in the league so far. It's going to be the White Sox.
I feel like that just debunks this whole list already.
Maybe.
I mean, it's pretty close, though, because they were a couple games apart from the worst. So, I mean, right. That makes them the second worst team in the league. That's believable.
Yeah, I'm gonna go from west to east on this one.
Okay.
The NL West. The Dodgers with 106 wins.
Okay.
The Diamondbacks with 90 wins. The Giants only have 80 wins, so they're under 500. Padres only have 72 wins. And the Rockies, also worse than the Athletics, with 58 wins.
I'm not as high on the Dodgers as everybody. Like, I get they spent a lot of money and they have some pieces, but I mean,
So,
I guess
so,
to see what
so
does.
they can't take into consideration what's going on with Ohtani right now.
No. I know that. I guess I don't feel as good about their pitching as everyone else does.
I agree. So interesting. In the Central, the Cardinals win the division
Really?
94-68,
Wow.
edging out the Cubs because they split their series 7-6, with the Cardinals winning that seventh game because the Cubs tied them with 94-68.
Interesting. All right.
Reds 75 wins, the Brewers 69 wins, which really surprises me that
Ouch.
I mean, it had to have said like, yeah, it's yeah. I was like, maybe there was somebody injured in this family thing, but I don't know. Pirates 68 wins. Yeah, that sounds about right.
That sounds right.
The Braves win the East.
Sure.
108 wins.
Wow. Okay.
The Phillies are in second with 106 wins.
Wow.
Mets have 75 wins, the Nationals 71s, and the Marlins was 66. Again, I don't understand why the Marlins would do that, but
yeah.
And they got a guy on the Marlins that they have projected to hit 40 home runs. Okay, so you go into the playoffs. The AL wild card is the Yankees versus the Rangers. The Yankees sweep them 2-0.
Okay.
The Rays versus the Orioles. The Rays beat the Orioles 2-1.
Okay.
You know, because the Orioles would have won the East, but were the worst. In the NL wild card, the Cubs versus the Phillies. The Phillies win that 2-1. The Diamondbacks versus the Cardinals. The Cardinals win that 2-1. The ALDS has the Yankees beating the Astros 3-2, and the Rays beating the Twins 3-1. In the NLDS, it has the Phillies beating the Braves 3-2, and the Dodgers sweeping the Cardinals 3-0.
Okay.
The ALCS has the Yankees winning in 7 games. Has the Twins winning in 7 games.
Oh, okay.
Not the Yankees. The Twins winning in 7 games. Interesting.
Yeah.
And the NLCS has the Phillies beating the Dodgers in 6 games, 4-2.
Okay.
The World Series has the Phillies winning the World Series 4-1 over the Minnesota Twins.
Huh.
Yep. Here's who they got. The AL MVP, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who got 51 home runs, 103 runs scored, 123 RBIs. That would be an MVP year
that certainly would.
NL MVP, Shohei Ohtani. 142 runs, 63 home runs, 152 RBIs.
Wow.
That's big.
That is a monster year. Yeah.
The AL Cy Young is Corbin Burns of the Orioles, and they don't show wins and losses. They just show 208 strikeouts out of 225 innings pitched with a 3.2 ERA. And the NL Cy Young was Spencer Strider, who had 240 strikeouts over 215 innings pitched, a 3.18 ERA. And the Rookie of the Year is Evan Carter for the AL, who hit 16 home runs, 65 RBIs, and 85 runs. And the NL Rookie of the Year is Jackson Chourio of the Brewers, who has 24 home runs, 76 RBIs, and 28 stolen bases. And that's what MLB The Show, which is the only source you need to listen to there, Robert, because obviously you're a pot smoking predictions are going to fail miserably. I want a golden crusted pizza.
It's going to be gold spray paint.
So yeah, that's what MLB The Show came up with.
Interesting.
Which I thought was right on.
Yeah,
I mean, I thought it was close. Like I said, it was odd to me that they thought the Brewers were going to do so poorly.
Yeah.
I found it interesting that between the Braves and the Phillies, they win 214 games between them. That's a big, that the Phillies, if the Phillies won 106 games, I think that would break their all-time record. Yeah. In fact, I think it even said it here in this. It was like, Philadelphia also sets a franchise record for wins, but isn't enough to dethrone Atlanta, who also sets a franchise record with wins at 108.
I mean, that's a lot of wins.
It is. And thinking about that, like I said, it's every team wins 60, every team loses 60. It's what you do with those other 42.
Yep.
If you get that you don't lose 60, you have a very, very good team. Then I think out of all the baseball seasons and all the time, you know what I mean? There's only been 25 teams, 30 teams that ever hit over 100. Yeah, Robert. I think that you are way off. I think that you just think that you are knowledgeable about baseball. And the only one telling you that is like maybe the kindergarten class that you sometimes sub teacher for. I don't even know if you're a substitute teacher.
Not at all. Not at all. That is hilarious.
But the MLB futures odds, because they have to win the World Series right now, they have the Dodgers at plus 350, the Braves at plus 500, the Astros at 800, the Yankees at 900, the Orioles at 1200, the Rangers at 1400, and then the Phillies at 1400.
So we got the Mariners at 3,500?
No. Interestingly enough, the Mariners are right underneath the Phillies at plus 2,000.
Really? Wow.
Tied with the Blue Jays at plus 2,000.
Really? That's surprising.
That is a little bit surprising.
That is that's better odds than I was imagining. Like 3,500 felt like what's the worst what's the A's? What's the A's?
Plus 30,000, and they are the worst.
30,000.
30,000.
Woo! Wow.
Rockies, Nationals, Royals, White Sox, Pirates, and Angels, all at 15,000. And I tell you,
do you take a flyer on the Angels?
That's the one thing I would say is
right?
Like that's worth a dollar bet to win $150. I would do it.
Right? I mean, you're going to lose $1, but I mean, you lose $1, which,
right.
Whatever. Wow.
Here, so let's talk about teams that actually would be good. The Diamondbacks are a plus 3,000.
I mean, they got a shot.
That's worth $10.
Sure.
Followed by the Rays, which are also at a plus 3,000, and the Twins that are plus 3,000. Now, we just heard that the Twins are going to make it to the World Series through MLB The Show. Sure. I don't think that that's really going to happen, but you never know. I mean,
anything can happen, but I mean, if it's a $10 bet that's not terrible. I could see getting in on that.
The Padres, Mets, Giants, Cardinals, Reds are all at plus 4,000.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's any in there that I think have a real shot, though.
And so out of that mix, when I think of that mix, Yeah, I think the Padres have their ego problems. That's the issue with that, and they lost their pitcher, so now they are reeling a little bit. So I don't think the Padres could do it. The Mets it up,
I was going to say it's because they're the Mets they can't do it.
right? The Giants, however, I remember telling you that I thought that the Giants are going to have a very unique type of year, and the fact now that they've got Snell.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know that Snell's going to be your end all be all there, but it could change some of the thought process on, hey, we
Sure.
expect to make the playoffs, and making the playoffs and getting there and getting to the World Series, a whole different scenario. But probably out of all of those, they're tied with the Cardinals. Again, I can't stand St. Louis thinking that it's baseball heaven. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
get out of my face. But ultimately, out of those two at plus 4,000, I'd put $5 on it to win.
I could
Winning
see
200.
You said the Giants, right? Like
Right.
I could see that. And only because when they do get in, historically they do well if they get into the show, right? Like if they get into postseason play.
Playing in San Francisco in the playoffs is tough to do.
Yeah. So I mean, like that's they had that stretch where they were in the series like every other year. So I mean, I could see throwing, $5-10 at that.
Yeah, 5 to win 200 doesn't seem like it's so much of a loss.
Yeah, I mean, yes, especially when you figure both of us go to the bar. $5 doesn't even get you, like it doesn't get you anything. Like you can't even buy a beer for $5 half the time anymore.
Yeah, well, in my bar you can. So
yeah, what's your normal beer cost there?
if you are buying a Miller Lite, it's 4.
Okay. All right.
If you're buying a Blue Moon, it's 5. But
sure. All right.
But when I drink my iced tea vodka and iced tea, it's $4.
Oh, okay.
So the Red Sox at plus 5,000. Yeah, that's a worthless bet.
Yep.
The Guardians at a plus 6,000. Now they're tied with the Tigers. The Tigers, no. The Guardians, maybe. Again, putting $5 on them.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I would bet them to win the World Series. Obviously, these are World Series bets.
I was going to say, like, what's their odds of making the playoffs?
I
might entertain. The World Series, I don't think they have a real shot. But
I don't have that number.
No.
The only thing I have is MVPs after this. So, but if you're that high to win the World Series, winning the playoff, getting into the playoffs, I don't think it. But first off, it's probably
a 1,500 or something.
I mean, they got the Twins winning that division, kind of. So
yeah.
I mean, ultimately, it's I agree. Paul, I don't think that the Phillies win 106 games. Obviously, this is a video game playing this, not. If you ask me to over under at 106, I'd definitely go under.
Yes.
There's too many things that can happen during a baseball season that make you lose a couple games.
I would actually take the under at 100 even.
Yeah.
Like
Be happy to lose it if you lose it, but
no, for sure. But I mean, if the line was 100 even, I would still bet the under on that.
Actually, I think that the over under for the Phillies is at 94.
See, that's a tough line.
Actually, the truth of the matter is that at 94, I still kind of take the under. I mean, you think about that. The Phillies.
I would bet that I was exactly. Well, so that last part's probably not accurate, but the first part, I was thinking 92. I was thinking the Phillies probably end up with 92. Rob,
I actually have them at 93. I think the 93 wins is where they're
okay.
at.
And
That's just
Rob,
right about where they are. It's just
I
94
hope
is the
you're right.
under.
I hope you're right. I want to see our M's do something. You feel better about this team than I do. There's no doubt.
Robert. Now let's. You know what? Send him the code. I want to talk to him for a second. I want to feel what you feel. How are you guys going to win these games?
Absolutely.
How are you guys going to win these games? How are you? That's what I want to know. There's no chance that you guys win 93 games this year. And listen, I'm a baseball fan. I was rooting for you guys. I wanted you guys to beat Houston. I wanted you guys to make the playoffs last year. You guys pooped the bed at the worst time. You know what I mean? And that's a real statement.
Is there a good time?
You know, if you're going to poop the bed, you poop it early. You got a chance to clean it up.
That's right.
Wash the sheets. You know what I mean? That's why you do it. But you guys, what was that? You had like 3 games lost against the Rangers and Houston, like in a row. Bam, bam, bam. And you won a game and then lost the next 2. After you had first place, you were jumped into first place at one point with a week left to go.
Yeah. No, they fell apart right there.
And that's the problem. That just tells me that J-Rod's not mature enough yet to be able to be the leader of that locker room yet, that he's still not there, that you didn't have the pitching well enough to be able to do that, because if I remember correctly, you guys got blown out in those games. If it was like 7-0 games, 7-1 games, stuff like that. I don't remember as clear because I was too busy worried about the Phillies, but I remember watching that it was you guys didn't make it. And you guys made the playoffs, and you guys have not recovered from that 18-inning game. That's the game that you still haven't recovered from yet.
Yeah.
And that's just being real. That's just being real. Now, I like the fact that you have some passion about your Mariners, even though they stink out loud. But they're not going to be better than the Phillies. The Phillies would need to have 2 of the top 3 guys in their rotation go down, and maybe you'd have a shot.
Yeah. But
the Phillies are probably the only rotation that have a good top 3. You know, not a great top 3. I think Wheeler could be an ace in any lineup, you know, on any team. I think Nola is a good number 2 on any team. And I think Ranger Suarez is also a good number 2 on any team. And he's the number 3. And you have Christian Sanchez, who is really good at getting through 6 or 7 innings. And then Taijuan Walker, when he finally comes back and he's not hurt, he's a guy that as long as you can get out of the first inning with him, then you can go 6 innings. But he's going to give up 4 runs in the first.
Yeah.
And that's a real statement. That's a real statement. This team is built to win games 7-2, 7-4. So if we go soft on our bats, you know, like we have to score. Our goal is 5 runs a game. If we score 5 runs, we win the game. Just my opinion. Now, it's not always going to be that way, but your pitching is way better than. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? There's no. You know what? I'm going to pull it up right now. I'm going to pull up how bad your pitching staff is in comparison to the Phillies.
I mean, that was the thing that was brutal for the Mariners last year was if we didn't score 5 runs, we lost. Like consistently throughout the season, you had to put up 5+ runs to have a shot. There were very few 4 runs or less games that they pulled off wins. They had a few more at the end, but for 3/4 of the season, if it was 4, even if they put up 4, it was an L. And there were a couple of games that they had double-digit runs and still lost. So, I mean, like if you put up 10 runs, you have no business losing that game.
There we are. Okay. And they started home today against the Red Sox. Well, you might win that one.
Yep. That should go down as a dub. But, you know, we'll see. They did get better as the preseason went because, man, they started off horrible.
So as I'm looking at this, Luis Castillo, Jackson Coer, he's on the 60-day IL. I mean, he's who's your number one? Who's starting today? Let's go there.
Oh, I
Luis
actually don't know who's
Castillo.
starting today.
Luis Castillo.
Oh, okay.
He's your starter today. So I'm
And I
trying.
did send you the link, Rob, if you wanted to jump in.
Castillo, Gilbert, and Kirby any day against Wheeler, Nola, and Ranger. That's what you're talking about? That's what you're saying? When do we play you guys? I want to know. I would love. You know what? I may take the trip out there for this.
Hell
I want
yeah.
to sit right next to you there, Robert, right in between you and Bo.
Let's do this thing.
Where's it at? You guys, the Phillies. We start off August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. There ain't no better time. That would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
Out.
Especially because the weather here will be amazing.
2nd, 3rd, and 4th. You buy those tickets. I'm coming. I'm coming to Seattle 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of August. And I want to sit right in between the two of you. And I'm going to tell you right then and there how bad your team is. Make sure we're right there on, I want to be in the front row of, we could be in the outfield. We could definitely be in the outfield. Let's talk to J-Rod. I want to talk to him. I want to tell him, how good it is somewhere else.
Oh man, now I hope we kick your ass. Welcome to Seattle. Go home with some L's.
So, and thinking about that, I'm trying to figure out, so now that I know that we are August 2nd there, I want to see my schedule, where are we at before and after, because that'll also play a little bit of a part.
Sure.
So we're at the Mariners, and then we're at the Dodgers, and we play the Yankees. We have a 3-game series against the Yankees at home before we go out to Seattle.
I mean,
that's actually
come out
helpful.
Here and then pop down to watch the Dodgers, because I mean that's a 2.5-hour flight, so that's not bad.
I might do that. That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
All right.
It's a lot of time on the road. You know what I mean?
A lot of time on the road.
And that's right before I get ready for football season too. So, but that might be the time to do it. So, as I said, I might just do the weekend. I might try to do. See, flying down there and then flying home is the pain in the ass, because I don't have people in LA. Sure. I could use a couch. Yep. I'll sleep on Robert's couch. I'll get all of the makeup on his couch. Sure, the wife will love that over there.
That is awesome.
Yeah, because then we finish up with a 4-game set against the Diamondbacks.
Okay.
So yeah, that's because it's a 10-game. So you're the start of a 10-game West Coast road trip.
Nice.
But yeah, I like that. August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. I'm going to start looking at flights right now. No, that's not a bad bet. 20 pounds to get 300 pounds. I would absolutely do that.
Here we go.
Perfect. I'm dead serious about that. Let's get some tickets and let's go to those games.
I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, there's 7:00 games out in your way, or 6:00 games, 6:40, and then that Sunday is a 1:10, I assume. On your side. So Friday night, Saturday night, because it's 9:40 games back home. But if they knew I was there, people would be excited. Yeah, and Seattle people, like I said, and there's so many Seattle people up there, anyways. They love me up there.
No, I think it'd be fun. We should definitely do this.
So mark it on the calendar. I'm going to put it on mine. August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. We are in Seattle.
Hell yeah.
Maybe make a trip of it. 14-1. Yeah, 14-1 is not bad. Yeah, that's what I say. That's what it is here. It's plus 1,400. So, but to get back to what we were talking about just a few minutes ago, before I had to set some rules down on really MVP. So the AL MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think your guy J-Rod falls?
In the MVP race?
Mm-hmm.
Man, maybe I'm gonna go top, like, right at the edge of top 10.
No.
No?
Higher.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's good.
They got him as third.
Really? All right.
Behind Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. Judge is a plus 550. Soto's a 600. J-Rod is a plus 850. Followed by Seager, Corey Seager, Alvarez, they're plus 1,000. What are other names here? Bobby Witt Jr. plus 1,200. Gunnar Henderson at 14. Kyle Tucker at 18. Adley Rushman at 2. Mike Trout at 2,000, by the way. Vlad is plus 2,500. Jose Ramirez is a plus 3,000. Bo Bichette and a Rafael Devers, all at plus 3,000. Now, NL MVPs. Many more under 1,000 than, not many more. There's 3 above 1,000 in the AL. There's 4 in the NL. Acuna Jr. leads it at 500. Mookie Betts at 600. Shohei's got 800. I'm surprised that number hasn't dropped. And Freddie Freeman at 900.
Well, I mean, it hasn't dropped because he hasn't been suspended yet.
Well, of course.
So, I mean, soon as there's any speculation that he does, that number will plummet.
So, what cracks me up about this is that you have 3 Dodgers under 1,000 to win MVP.
Mm-hmm.
If Ohtani was to go out, if Ohtani was to get suspended, do Betts and Freeman also drop too? Because now
you would think so.
Just lost that guy who was going to give you extra RBIs or runs.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and that's why I say I think everyone's numbers suffer if Ohtani, not just in voting but on the field too. I think that hurts that organization a lot. Plus, there's a distraction, right? There's going to be a media distraction around it all the time.
And I haven't checked. Oh yeah, there's Phillies on the list. I didn't get that far yet. Tatis was a plus 1,000. Harper's a plus 1,200. Bryce Harper, that is. So there's our first Philly. Yep. Matt Olson is plus 1,400. At plus 2,000, you have Corbin Carroll from the Diamondbacks and Trey Turner from the Phillies. Then you have Austin Riley at 2,500. And then you have both the Mets of Francisco Lindor and Pete Alfonso at plus 2,500.
So on the baseball note, what do you think of this? You block the bag and you're safe thing, because I mean that's going to ruin your gun downs from the catcher.
So you heard me talk about that yesterday, right?
Oh,
I mentioned that on the other show. I'm like, yeah,
okay.
this whole ridiculousness of that.
That is insanely dumb. No, I only caught a few minutes of it. I was in between some things, but I saw you guys were on, so I wanted to jump in and
I find it so ridiculous. So ridiculous. Listen, this is how are you supposed to stand? Where are you supposed to go? Like, oh, I got to block everything. So
Like,
that
how do you
means
make the tag if you can't
so
be in
exactly.
front of the
So
bag?
so imagine being in front of the bag or behind the bag, and the guy wants to take the long way to slide. So in essence, you have the bag that's right here.
Yep.
I'm not going to be able to show this well on my,
Yep.
but he's going to. So my head is the bag,
Sure.
and you're standing up here. So the guy takes the long path and just reaches his arm out and touches it with his finger, and like you can't even reach to get over the bag because you extended the bags 2 inches.
Yeah. No, you'd literally have to dive at the guy. like that's the way I'm looking at it. It's like, okay, if you're the second baseman, you catch it, you don't get a swipe down and make the tag anymore. Now you're going to have to like launch at the guy because he's going to be on the other side of the bag, especially like you said, if you're the long way and you're just reaching out to the side to, grab the bag, there's no way you're going to get there.
Or
Like,
I'm gonna
it is,
straddle. What am I gonna straddle this bag so that all right, I got 1 foot on one side, 1 foot on the other side of this bag, so that you have full access. But I'm gonna be down here like this. So
oh,
I'm gonna put my glove down. But now you're blocking. Is that what that is?
in that scenario, that runner is taking one for the team. He's sliding head first, going to pop straight into you. I may be out, but you're leaving the game.
That's what I think. You know what I mean? That's
That'll be that full speed nut shot right there.
I find it ridiculous. I find it absolutely ridiculous. Like, all right, then it you can't extend the bags. Yeah, like we just made it 2 inches closer because we made it 2 inches bigger in every direction. Now you got these monster bags,
Yeah, well,
and
I still don't know what the point of the bigger bags was. Like, why did they do that? The bag size seemed to work for 100 years or more.
they I don't know. I really don't know. I know it was all meant to try to. This is all done to try to help with stolen bases. That stolen bases is a lost art.
Yeah, check it. Limiting the amount of times you can check the runner at first base helps that.
Right.
Like that rule I liked. Like very few of these rule changes have I thought were a good idea. That one I did like. I know that they mostly did it to keep the game going because you've seen some of those pitchers check a guy, 8 times. But at the same time, limiting how many they can do it, now stolen bases matter again. So I liked that one. The pitch clock, I didn't care about. Seems like it worked out okay. So I'm not that mad at the pitch clock thing. But this rule seems like it hurts the sport. And anytime you make a rule that hurts the sport, regardless of sport, I don't care. When you make a rule that is going to negatively impact the game, those are the rules. I'm just like, what are we doing right now? And this is exactly that. It's like, okay, if you're trying to gun someone down at second as the catcher, that second baseman has nowhere to set up because for you to make a play, at least one of your feet is going to be in the way.
Right.
Like, I don't know. It's dumb. None of it makes sense.
And the banning of the hip tackle, like I said, I actually went off on that yesterday and during the show, and I think you did see that. Where, listen, I understand everybody's complaining, crying, carrying on, whatever. This is specifically meant to go after the 100 tackles that occurred.
Sure.
A very specific way. This is a very specific tackle that they are going after. Out of those 105 tackles that occurred, there were 25 people that got injured. That's 1 in every 4 tackles that occurred that way specific. This isn't catching the guy from behind and not being able to do it. This is a very egregious, very similar to a horse collar tackle. That's what they are stopping here. They're not stopping the catch of the guy from behind.
We'll see how it gets called, though.
Well, that's why they didn't come up with a rule on it yet. Remember, I was telling you that there wasn't any real rule on this yet. There's a reason for that, because there's no way to be able to govern this just yet.
Yeah.
So this is going to be very specifically the egregious type of tackle. When you have somebody who gets hurt because of negligence, because that's really what it is. It is a violent tackle. That tackle is a violent tackle. The one that they're talking about. is when somebody gets that, because usually that guy, whether he got tackled, whether he got hurt for real or not, the next play he's not in there because he's got to get looked at real quick.
Yep.
So that's part of the problem that they have been dealing with this. So that's where that comes in at. This baseball maneuver here with this thing, you're going to see that go away. That's going to disappear. That's not going to get called.
No,
I think
it has to go away.
Yeah, there's no good way of doing that. The
And
fact
there's
that
going to be many variations of where this hip drop tackle gets called. Like initially, this preseason, it's going to be horrendous. Like the calls are going to be crazy. I would bet, because you're going to have a lot of players that are going to be on the borderline of it, just because they're guys that are probably not going to be in the league, right? Like there's always some very ugly tackling in preseason. So this is there's going to be a lot of flags for it, and I would imagine that rule will sort of evolve as the season goes.
Right.
It'll if it does stay a thing, tough to say if it will, but if it does stay a thing, it'll get fine tuned a lot, and I would bet that it is a reviewable play.
Well,
it would need to be. I mean, obviously, you're not necessarily going to see intent, but if you're trying to do it in real time, if there's any question, this needs to be something that can be reviewed, because, like, that is a huge.
Yeah, I don't know that they're going to be able to review that. Can you imagine, like, that the amount of time that would take?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I guess it depends on if they're going to do that extra ref, in the sky thing.
Well, that's
because if they do that, that might be reviewed in real time.
That's why I was hoping that he would send me, that Chris was sending me, that they're changing the way that referees are going to be, but I don't know. I didn't see that. I did see that cheap shot artist, Jadeveon Clowney, got to steal more money from teams. Surprises me how that guy can still make any money. That guy just steals money from teams.
Well, and he's definitely going to this time because he's going to the Panthers. So I mean,
that's why he's just stealing money.
Well, yeah, because I mean, he's not gonna add anything to that team. Like he has half a dozen good plays a year. We were like, okay, that's the guy we thought was coming out of college that's supposed to be a huge impact player. He just doesn't seem like he has the motor to do that in any consistent level.
He had one good play for your team the entire year, the entire time he played, exactly. And it was a cheap shot on Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
End of story. Such a cheap shot. And I saw it firsthand. I saw Carson Wentz buckle afterwards. The fact that they didn't call it at all was ridiculous. Mm. It's like he literally went head first, not without, and dug his head. All the times that they protect the quarterbacks and they let that occur, I tell you, it's like I said, he's a cheap shot artist. He's a terrible football player. The guy sucks. And if he was in front of my face, I'd probably cold cock him just for the hell of it, just to see. He thinks he's all big and bad. He's all he is. That's why he's a cheap artist. He's cheap shot artist. Here, let me cheap shot you a little bit. Let me see how you deal.
I can see this headline already. Philly sports guy gets rolled by Clowney.
Hey, listen. He better pack a lunch, because if I was to do that, he would absolutely need his full attention. He's only 260 pounds. He's only got me by 15 pounds.
Yeah.
And about 15 years. Maybe 18, 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would almost be like Mike Tyson versus Paul.
Yeah, I can't.
We're not able to
do anything with that there, but.
Yeah, so they amended the pitch clock to 18 seconds instead of 20 seconds for when runners are on base, and that 2 seconds ain't going to make a crap of difference. You know what I mean? That ain't going to do none.
No. That's not going to affect anything. I mean, the guys that had a hard time adjusting to the 20-second clock, now they're used to it. It's not going to matter.
Hey, listen, sometimes I wake up and I choose violence.
And in this case, violence may have chosen him because Clowney does have you by a couple of years.
By a couple of years. Hey, listen, bring it on. Bring it on. I'd love to tell him. I'm like, listen, you're a cheap artist. Every team he's ever played for, he gets called for cheap hits.
Yeah, you know what you need is this fight would need to happen with the big balloon gloves. That'd be amazing.
That would be hysterical. That would definitely be hysterical. But but yeah, I mean that's all he's ever done. I mean, like I said, he's been worthless. He was supposed to be first round talent, and all his first round talent is learning how to cheap shot people. That's for real.
And that was my point. Is he had all of these all this hype coming out of college, and you only ever see 4 or 5 plays that kind of even mirror what that might have been per year, right? And you're on the field a lot. Clowney is not worse than Sue. Sue is probably one.
Sue is a different type of dirty.
Well, and not only is Sue
was just dirty.
Like Sue didn't need to be dirty was the worst part. Sue was a monster and then was dirty on top of it just because he's a douche. But but he didn't need to be. Like that dude, had he not done all that stuff, man, like he still would have got home all the time.
Yeah. I mean, just when you're stomping on somebody and stuff like that, like there was no need for him to do any of that. He just would do it. Yeah, you can go ahead and send it to me over on Instagram. That's fine. Yeah, I mean that's so. Like I said, Sue was a dirty player.
Yeah,
Clowney is cheap. He's a cheap shot. He never did things the right way. He's not a good player. In fact, he's a pansy when it comes to real play. When you need him to do something, he comes up small over and over and over again.
He will clean up that play where somebody trips and he'll run up and tag you and get credit for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but he's never that good.
Sue was he was a beast of a human, and then for some reason, just in his head, had to be dirty on top of it, which he didn't need to be.
Right.
So
was ridiculous. Didn't need to be as dirty as he was. He just was.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's just a weird mindset, like stomping on people in a pile. And I mean, like none of that stuff needed to happen.
Right. And that was kind of part of the thing with him. You know what I mean? I think it was just an anger situation. He was always angry. So not excusing it at all, but it just is what it is. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he was always the green monster. There's no doubt.
But he didn't do cheap shots. He just was dirty. You know what I mean? He was just dirty. Different scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was, yeah. No, I'm with that.
Yeah. So it's like, that's like Marchand. When you talk about hockey, Marchand is like a cheap shot artist. You know what I mean? He does stuff. He's a dirty player, but he's a cheap shot artist. There are other players that are dirty players like Wilson from Washington, the one who gets, always, winds up getting suspended because he's a dirty player. He's a dirty player. Takes a stick, whacks somebody on the face. So that's dirty.
Yeah.
That's dirty.
Yeah.
But
yeah, in fact, that happened not that long ago, as I recall.
That's why I mentioned it. You know what I mean?
It's like it was last week, I think.
Yeah, I think because he's suspended for 5 games, which I thought would make a difference. But truth of the matter is that Washington doesn't need him right now. Yeah, they got an easy part of their schedule. So it's and with Ovechkin actually coming on strong towards the end of the season, it's a whole different scenario. That's why I think Washington's going to wind up taking the number 3 spot, and the Flyers are going to fall out of that into the wild card.
Yeah, makes sense. Now, for me, sadly, my Kraken are done. It's a wrap. Yeah. It's too bad. I was hoping they were going to sneak their way back in, but they've really just fallen off in the second half of the season. And not that they had a good start either, but like they started slow. They started to come on a bit, and then and that was it. So
yeah, I really think that has to do with the coach.
Yeah,
that's the problem. It's the coaching now.
Yeah. Well, and then of course they were a seller at the deadline too. So I mean they let some guys go, and you could tell that they were packing it in for the season long before the season was done. But
right. Well,
which I mean I don't know. I guess as a fan at least but it still sucks.
Well, I mean, you guys just had hockey now for 3 or 4 years, so it's not like you guys are supposed to win.
No, yeah. I mean, this was our third season, right? First season, they were the third worst team in the league. They get into the playoffs last year, and they did some work in the playoffs. Like they made their presence known. And then this year was just kind of a floundering fish, right? Like there were moments where you're like, okay, they could turn this thing around, and then there were moments where you're like, oh wow, yeah, this is going to be a bad year.
Yeah, they weren't really a Kraken; they were just an octopus.
Yeah, kind of, and not like a big scary one, like one of the little guys.
Yeah, one of the little guys that would hide underneath rocks.
Exactly.
So, anyways, as we get up to the top of our hour here, hey, listen, if you guys are around today, I know that half these people in Seattle are not able to make it to this, but if you guys are around today, come down to the Wings game. You want to get into the party zone, that is where you're going to get a chance to challenge the champion of cornhole and try to win my trophy. Come down here to the Wings and do it that way. And then make sure on Monday is the day we are going to have our, it's going to be Hater Show.
It is going to be
Monday.
That's right. Monday. Yep. Nope. That's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be hilarious. Hopefully we get a good showing for it. I would imagine we will, though.
I agree. I think it'll be a good time. So, but everybody enjoy opening day if you have it. I'm sure there's some games maybe even going on right now, possibly. But
there probably are a couple of games that are kicking off right now.
Yeah, I haven't been watching TV since I've been doing this show. So, but I'm going to go watch it now, and maybe have a cocktail,
beverage,
one or two before I have to come back here and play some bago or cornhole.
That's right. Oh boy, Hater Show. Here we go. It'll be fun.
Awesome.
Right on, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have fun at the stadium, man.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
You know it.